This video will demonstrate how to create payment terms to create more accurate due dates for your payroll liabilities, and then we'll show how to use the tasks feature in CenterPoint to keep track of when those liabilities are due. The first step in creating more accurate due dates for your payroll liabilities is to create payment terms for your payroll vendors. We can set up those terms by going to Setup, Names, and Payment Terms. You can see that I have several created already. I'm going to edit one, but clicking New would take you to the same screen. You can set up an optional abbreviation for them. You'll assign them a name, and then you're going to choose a payment term type. The first option is a number of days until the due date occurs. So it'll be a number of days after the payroll date that payroll liability is due. So if I say that and I say 30, then it's going to be 30 days after the payroll date that the payroll liability is due. The second option makes it due on a specific day of the month. Okay, so if I've chosen the 30th day of the month, then any payroll liabilities assigned to this term will be due on the 30th of the month, unless you have information in the box below there. So if I put a 2 in here, for example, and my payroll date is within 2 days of the due date, the system will push it off to the next due date. I'm going to leave mine at 0, but that is an option. And you can see that I am creating this payment term for every month, so that I'm using it in every month. But some liabilities you have may only have quarterly due dates. So you would only mark the months that you want to create those due dates for. I'm going to click Save on that. And then the next step is to assign these payment terms to your payroll vendors, which we can do by going to Setup, Names, and then Names. I'm going to edit one of my payroll vendors, and on the General tab in the box labeled Vendor Information is a field labeled Terms, and that's where we're going to select the terms that we're going to assign for this payroll vendor. If you leave this blank, then it will assume that you want the liability due date for those liabilities that are assigned to this vendor to be equal to your payroll date. So they will have the same date as your payroll date. And I actually do have that for some of my vendors. Some of my vendors, I do want the due date to be the same date as the payroll date, such as my U.S. Treasury, which is where my federal income taxes, Social Security, and Medicare go. I pay those after every pay run, so I left that blank so that the due date is the same as the payroll date. I'm going to close out of there, and then to demonstrate this, I already have a pay run started. So I'm going to go to Processes and Pay Employees. The pay date of this pay run is 5/29 of 25. So I'm going to edit that pay run, and we're going to post it on the Print Checks tab. On the right-hand side is a checkbox that's labeled Display Liabilities. If I check that box, that when I post this pay run, it'll bring up a grid showing me all of my payroll vendors, the payroll liability that's getting posted to them, and the due date assigned to it. So let's see that. I'm going to click Post and Print. And you'll see the grid pop up that's going to show me all of my vendors, the amount that is getting posted to them for a liability, the terms that were assigned to it, and the due date that got created. So you see all of these near the bottom here don't have a term on them, so they got the same date as my payroll, where the other liabilities got assigned the appropriate due date. You can change the due date on this screen, so if there's any you want to override, you can override it. I'm going to go off screen and continue to post this pay run, and then we'll see how that shows up in our tasks list. I finished posting the pay run, so I'm going to close that screen, and on my quick list on the left-hand side, you can see that there's a section labeled Tasks, and this is where I'm going to be able to manage these payroll liabilities. If you're not seeing your quick list and you want to, you can go to View and choose to view the quick list. The Tasks section is broken down into liabilities that are past due, and I don't have any of those, liabilities that are due today, liabilities due this week, and liabilities that are due later. So if I open up today, for example, you'll see a list of different payroll liabilities that are due today, the day of the pay run. To pay those liabilities, I can highlight one and right click and choose to perform the action on them, or I could simply just double click on the liability and it'll bring up the pay invoices due screen, which is where I pay those liabilities. Now there's a separate video on how to use this screen, so you might want to review that video for paying payroll liabilities. But just very quickly, I would if I'm integrated with our accounting software, I'll probably want to separate out just the payroll liabilities, which I can do with the filter here. And if I'm paying some vendors via ACH file versus those that I pay by printing a check, I might want to separate those out. So if I want just my check vendors right now, I can say no ACH vendors. To pay the payroll liabilities, I can just say pay all, and it'll pay all of these payroll liabilities with a due date of today on them. And I'll let those post. And we'll close that screen. Now notice that they're still showing up on the tasks list. This does refresh, but it does take a little bit. So if I want to refresh it more immediately, I can right click on the taskbar and I can choose to refresh it. And now those liabilities come off the list and they are no longer going to be on my tasks.